dice and just compromise. It's the chance of your life. Okay, try to be brave. You have so much to save. Take control of your own life. Right now, every mistake makes you feel like a fake. Take control of your own life. Without any thought, I keep moving on. I don't even care if my soul is gone. So many words that I should have said. Not concerned about how to live instead. Just open your eyes and take my advice. Stop pulling the dice and just compromise. It's the chance of your life. Okay, try to be brave. You have so much to save. Take control of your own life. Right now, every mistake makes you feel like a fake. Take control of your own life. Nothing in life is good. Tied in with feel better on the weekend. Give my life a better meaning. Let me stay where I'm in phase. I feel better on the weekend. I feel better on the weekend. Give my life a better meaning. Let me stay where I'm in phase. I feel better on the
Welcome to Cyber Threat Intel, your go-to source for the latest updates, news, and insights on cyber threats. Our goal is to arm you with the knowledge to protect yourself in the digital age, whether you're a cybersecurity professional or just curious about the threats lurking in the digital shadows. Make sure to subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast listening platform to join us on the front lines of cybersecurity, because in the world of cyber threats, knowledge is power. Welcome. This is Cyber Threat Intel. This is episode number 24. It is Thursday, April 25th, 2024. I'm your host, John Good. Glad to see you here. Now, depending on if this is the first time that you're seeing the show, you might not be familiar with how the show typically works. Typically what we do is we take a few minutes, we let people hop on the stream because we are doing this live. So if you're watching a replay or on demand or listening on the podcast, then you can absolutely tune in live and engage, actually ask questions and talk about the articles with the live stream. Or of course you can watch the replay. But typically what we do is we give people a few minutes to tune in, hop on the stream, and grab a snack or drink, whatever you need to get through the show. And then we go through some show notes, and then we'll hop into the articles and kick off the content. So speaking of that, again, how you can find the show, there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can find the show. If you want to watch the live stream or the on-demand replay, so the video format, then you can definitely find that on the John Good Cyber YouTube channel. That's like our home base. We're also on the John Good Cyber LinkedIn profile. So my profile, or the John Good Cyber on Twitter or X, and the John Good Cyber page on Facebook. So you can find us all on there for the live stream or for the on-demand replay of the video format. If you would rather listen in just to the audio-only version, then we're available on all the major podcasting platforms. So you can go to Spotify or iTunes and search for Cyber Threat Intel there, and we'll definitely come up, and you can just subscribe that way or follow us that way, and that totally works too. If you go to the Cyber Threat Intel website, so cyberthreatintel.com, again, cyberthreatintel.com, you'll be able to find all the platforms that we're on there. It's all listed out, so you can just get a direct link that way. And on the website, we also have the article feed. So you can actually look at the articles that we've covered if you want to read more into them, right? Because obviously we can't cover every single piece of information from the articles, but you can find all the articles there for all the episodes. You can also find other articles that we didn't necessarily have time to cover, but we thought they were important for you to read as well. So that's another great thing about that. You can see all the highlights that we make and any kind of comments that we might put in there as well. Super valuable, right? And we have some people definitely already getting the chat going here. Packet Watchdog, hey all. Hey, how's it going, Packet Watchdog? Glad to see you. Justin Williams, what's up? What's your story about getting into cybersecurity, and what's your thoughts on getting into GRC? I definitely have a lot of video content on that stuff. Certainly if we have some time, we can talk about it. We also do after shows after some of these episodes as well. So you can also stick around for those shows where we do after shows and ask questions, get answers, things like that. Packet Watchdog, trying to switch from security analyst to GRC yourself. Awesome. Less on call and more money. That is definitely a positive about GRC kind of jobs. As you get away from the operations side of things, you're not as tied into the on-call hours and those after hours things, right? Obviously, as you go up in seniority and management and things like that, you are tied into that a little bit more, but definitely an advantage of that. Kyle Oliphant joining. Hey, all. Hey, how's it going, Kyle? Alexis Julian. Hey, all. Good evening. Hey, great to see you. So also, too, if you have professional certifications, so CISSP, Security Plus, anything like that, right, then you can actually claim a half CPE, half a CPE, or CEU, right, continuing education credit for every one of these episodes. So we typically do all these episodes Monday through Thursday, so once a day. That means 2 credits per week for these episodes, half a CPE each, 4 episodes a week. That's 2 CPEs a week. So over the course of a year, you can definitely get your certifications in that you need. Again, over a year, 52 weeks, you're looking at just over about 100 CPEs there. So you can definitely get your requirement satisfied just based on this, right? And they're free. So definitely take advantage of that. Do not miss out on that free value, and don't wait till the end of the year. If you wait till the end of the year, that can be a very challenging time to get all your credits in a short period of time. So do it every episode that we have and just claim those right away. Go to your website for whatever certification you have, throw it in there, and move on with your day. So definitely do that. And Kyle says, I also love great rally cars. Awesome. So with that being said, we still have some people that are hopping on the stream, so we will give people a few more minutes. And while we do that, we'll take a second to talk about our sponsor for this episode, Cyber Training Pro, and I will see you on the other side of this ad. Are you tired of overpaying for cybersecurity training? Are you interested in training from industry professionals? Are you looking for cybersecurity career services? If you answered yes to any of those questions, then cybertrainingpro.com is the perfect platform for you. At Cyber Training Pro, we're a one-stop shop for all your cybersecurity needs. We can train you for industry certifications or just improve your overall knowledge and skills in a certain area. Unlike other platforms, we don't stop there. We can also coach you throughout your career, practice your interview skills, or create a high-performing resume with our career services. CybertrainingPro.com isn't just another training platform. Students get exclusive access to our private community where we go beyond training courses to provide additional content, tips and tricks, and engagement with both other students and staff. Look, by the year 2025, there could be as many as 3.5 million job openings in cybersecurity. With so much opportunity, why not maximize your career potential with a platform that cares about your success? Come join us at cybertrainingpro.com and start building your future today. All right, thanks to Cyber Training Pro for being a sponsor. We love our sponsors. Sponsors help make all this content possible. They make it possible for free too, for you, right? So we definitely appreciate our sponsors. We highly recommend that you stop by our sponsors, whoever they are, and make sure to show them some love. Let them know that you appreciate the fact that they're sponsoring the content and supporting everything that we're doing to help you, right? Huge thing, right? If you're a company and you're looking to sponsor content, make sure to check out the description because there is some more information about how you can kick that conversation off if you want to start that conversation about sponsoring content. So definitely do that and take advantage of that. Great opportunity, right? Especially for shows like this where we're always putting out content. Very, very helpful. Also, too, if you haven't seen, we do have merch. So we have mugs, we have shirts. So this is Cyber Threat Intel mug. We have Cyber Threat Intel shirts. I'm actually wearing another shirt. This is iHack. And this is a merch shirt that you can get in the merch shop as well. So again, check out the description and you will be able to grab some merch. So let's see here. Kyle says, Dr. Gerald Ozier has some great GRC workshops that are pay what you can style. Yep, a lot of different training resources out there. Interestingly enough, I have a lot of opinions on certain resources that are out there, good and bad. So, but that is not for this this show. That is not for this current discussion. That is a discussion for another time. But with that being said, we have a lot of people that have hopped on the stream here. So let's go ahead and flip over my screen and let's kick off the content. All right, first article here. Windows 11 start menu ads are now rolling out to everyone. Oh, goody. And they show a screenshot of it here. If you are watching or listening on the podcast, make sure that you do check out this article so you can see the screenshot of what it's going to look like if you haven't seen the ads already. But after testing these briefly with Windows Insiders earlier this month, Microsoft has started to distribute update KB503-6980 to Windows 11 users this week, which includes recommendations, and that's in quotes, for apps from the Microsoft Store in the Start menu. And if you don't know what KB numbers are, basically that is the identifier number that Microsoft uses to track things that they put out. So for instance, updates, if you were looking for a specific update, you could take that KB number and you could search for that and find that that specific update. So that's just a little bit of information if you aren't kind of aware of what that is. Now there's a quote here. The recommended section of the Start menu will show some Microsoft Store apps, says Microsoft in the update notes of its latest public Windows 11 release. These apps come from a small set of curated developers. The ads are designed to help Windows 11 users discover more apps, but will largely benefit the developers that Microsoft is trying to tempt into building more Windows apps. As a user, you're kind of like, no! Because you're going to get a barrage of apps, probably, right? Of advertisements. It says, luckily, okay, so this is good. Luckily, you can disable these ads or recommendations, as Microsoft calls them, If you've installed the latest KB 5036980 update, then head into Settings, Personalization, Start, and then turn off the toggle for Show recommendations for tips, app promotions, and more. While KB 5036980 is optional right now, currently, Microsoft will push this to all Windows 11 machines in the coming weeks. So think about this. Obviously, from a end user standpoint, just a regular consumer, this is pretty annoying, right? We don't want to see ads. We see enough of it. You say something and your phone's nearby, and then all of a sudden you start getting all these advertisements anyways. So it's not great to see. From an enterprise standpoint, once you start getting things like this and seeing more and more ads pushed out to your end users, that is certainly more of a concern, because now you're getting even spied on even more. And so in an enterprise, you definitely don't want that happening. So you have to be aware of turning off these things, turning off location settings that you don't want, right? There have been a lot more of these kind of feature enhancements, as I'm quoting with quotes if you're listening to the podcast, since Windows 11 started rolling out, especially, right? Windows 11, Windows 10, we started seeing a lot more of these. We didn't see these really with things like Windows XP, which, obviously Windows XP, super vulnerable, bad times, but that's kind of the way the world is going, right? We're starting to see these a lot more. So it'll be interesting to see, once this starts getting forced on people, if it truly is optional, right? Or you can turn it off, because when you install the Windows 11 operating system too, you do have kind of these areas where it's like you can get everything or just get the certain subset of advertisements or recommendations. That's like a setting. If you haven't installed Windows 11 lately, you should definitely check that out. But yeah, not great. Nobody wants ads. Come on. Stop forcing those ads in the operating systems. And two, it's like they put these ads in there and they make it, if you've seen like freemium kind of applications or games and things like that on your phone, same kind of idea, right? It's like, oh, okay, I'm playing this game and then, or doing this task, and then all of a sudden you completely take over my screen basically. So I have to watch this ad until I can do whatever it is that I was actually trying to do. Super, super annoying, right? 8-Bit Oni says, hi. Hey, 8-Bit Oni, glad to have you on the stream. Glad to see you again. All right, next article here. Google Meet opens client-side encrypted calls to non-Google users. I think that deserves a clap, right? I think that deserves some applause. That seems like a solid thing. Google is updating the client-side encryption mechanism for Google Meet to allow external participants, including those without Google accounts, to join encrypted calls. Client-side encryption ensures that only people in the meeting have access to data delivered through the application. Although Google had already implemented client-side encryption in Meet, the application did not have the option for external users to join secure calls. So let's think about that, right? Now, Google does offer business email, business applications, business services, things that you can do, right? Like they have Google business side of things. It's not just the end user, the consumer kind of aspect to using those options, right? So when we look at other services that are similar, right? Microsoft Outlook 365 and all these other things, Zoom and all these other options, right? With Teams and everything like that. You do have the option to allow external users to come in your organization or into your calls, your conferences. And think about this as far as being a business, right? It's not uncommon for a business to allow people external to the organization to join these calls, right? You might meet with vendors, you might meet with your customers, right? You might meet with government agencies, you might meet with all of these different kinds of entities. And there's a good chance that you're going to want to encrypt or have encryption on that session, right? And protect whatever information is being exchanged. If you're exchanging files, if you're just doing screen shares, if you're talking and you want that information, that audio to be encrypted, there's all kinds of, reasons why you might want to have that. And certainly if a service that is offering calls or video conferencing is not allowing that, right? That's not a feature outside of their ecosystem. Well, that creates obvious concerns and issues, right? Because if you are using Google and you want to meet with your customer who is using 365, Office 365, well, if that feature isn't available, then how are you going to encrypt that data? How are you going to protect that data? That creates some issues, right? And so that is a good thing to see, especially with Google, because a lot of organizations are using Google, especially with email and things like that. You definitely have a lot of small, medium-sized businesses that are using that. A lot of times with larger organizations, you do start to see things like Office 365 being a little bit more common just because of how that shift happens, right, in size of organization. But I think that's a good thing overall, right? There's a quote here: adding support for external participants means customers can collaborate with any of their stakeholders safe in the knowledge that only the meeting participants can decrypt the call media. Kind of like what I was just talking about, right? You have all kinds of different stakeholders, customers, shareholders, law enforcement, whatever, right? Like all kinds of different organizations or people that you might need to have encrypted calls with that are protected, right? You don't want get that information to get hacked and breached and taken and ran off and disclosed where it shouldn't be. Now it says to activate the feature, admins can update their IDP cackles configuration to open up access to external participants and determine third-party identity providers that can be used to join the meetings. So probably things like Okta and stuff like that, right? So identity provider, that would be like your SSO solution. Again, Okta, and there's a whole bunch of others, right? But that's kind of the idea. So you need admin settings to update this, and that's pretty much it for the article. So I'm interested to hear what you think about this, right? How many of you are using Google for your email, either personally or at your organization or at organizations that you've been at, right? Is that a common thing to be using Google? We're using Microsoft Office 365 more often. Teams is definitely taken off a lot in the last couple of years. But you also have things like Slack, and there's all kinds of different options for video conferencing, right? And we saw that being really utilized a lot more over the last couple of years with everything that's happened, because more and more jobs have been remote or have allowed remote capabilities, right? Or hybrid workspaces. So I think that trend is going to continue, right? We're not going to go completely back to on-site. We've definitely seen a lot of organizations that were initially saying that they were going to support remote work, really forcing people back into the office. And, again, with going remote and going hybrid versus like on site, that creates different kinds of hurdles or obstacles, challenges from a security standpoint and just from a general IT services delivery standpoint, right? How are you delivering services to people? Are you utilizing cloud? Are you utilizing private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud, all of those things, right? And 8-Bit Oni says teams have gotten better over the years. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, right? It's Microsoft. They are not going to just, go away easily. So we have definitely seen the integration of Teams and just the overall features and quality of what it offers get a lot better, right? And it makes sense a lot of times if you're already using Office, maybe you don't want to get another service beyond that. Maybe you just want to keep that suite. It's kind of that suite of software lock-in, right? See that with Apple lately, getting in trouble, I guess, for that. But yeah, I mean, even Google tries to do that, right? They try to lock you in their ecosystem. And this is kind of, I'm sure, a feature that was just killing them. And they're like, we have to implement this so we can keep people that want to keep their calls secure on our platform. So, and Packet Watchdog agrees with that. Curious if everybody's ready for the weekend since we are on Thursday. We're almost there. Almost there. All right, next article here. Sweden's liquor shelves to run empty this week due to ransomware attack. No! Certainly a concern here, apparently. Ransomware attack on a Swedish logistics company has prompted warnings from the country's sole liquor retailer that its top shelves in stores around the country may be empty by the end of the week. The directly affected company, Scanlog, is a critical distributor for System Bolaget. Is that how you say that? The Swedish government-owned retail chain with a monopoly on the sale of beverages stronger than 3.5% alcohol by volume. So that's going to be, I mean, that's a lot of your beer and definitely your liquor and everything like that. So Scanlog's chief executive, Mana Zuko, told newspaper Dagens Industry that the incident was a ransomware attack from a group based in North Korea. North Korea is popping up in the news again. The basis on which that attribution was made is not clear. All beverage categories at all stores throughout the country are affected. System Bolaget said that there was, again, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but said that there is no risk of total drying out, that's in quotes, but that certain brands were likely to disappear until deliveries started arriving again. So this brings up an interesting kind of dilemma, right? What are your business continuity processes? What are your disaster recovery processes? What does your plan look like? Do you have an incident response plan? What does that plan or process look like, right? Once you identify an incident, how are you responding? How are you maintaining your critical business processes so that your high sellers, right, your high selling products and services aren't just going away, right? They're not just disappearing because you can't refill those orders or refill that inventory. So what does all that look like, right? How do you recover? How do you, first of all, eradicate that, right? Once you've identified it. So how do you get rid of it? And then how do you recover all those systems so that you get back to a normal state? And then if you've heard me say this before, very importantly, how do you document those lessons learned or identify those lessons learned along with that root cause, right? Root cause analysis is really important as far as identifying kind of how you got in that situation in the first place, because that helps drive everything else, right? That helps drive improving your overall program and your overall plans and processes and everything associated with that, associated with the identification, associated with that eradication and recovery, right? Those are all really important things that helps you better prepare ahead of time so that you aren't struggling once something happens, right? The better you can prepare up front and improve over time, it's just going to kind of, it's like a cyclical cycle, right? It's that circle, it's that constant evolution of that cycle, because you want to always constantly be improving so that, you know, the next time this similar kind of incident happens, you're better prepared. You're ready, right? And that same attacker or same group that carried out a certain technique or strategy, they won't be successful the next time. If you've heard me say this before, a lot of these companies that have ransomware attacks, right, as in nearly all of them, always get retested, right? They are always retested by these hacking groups because they want to see if you fix things, right? If you haven't fixed things, why would they go somewhere else? Especially if you pay them off, right? If you pay them the ransom, then yeah, they're going to come back for sure. So even if you don't pay the ransom, maybe they sold off your data and that was a very lucrative opportunity for them, right? If they got absolutely nothing out of it, maybe they don't come after you again because they know you're not a great target for them to go after. But again, this whole thing, you have to improve your processes. You have to get better and better and better every day. Kyle Oliphant says, reminds me of the Amazon Fire tablet. I'm guessing tablet, right? That you can buy with or without ads if you pay a premium. Exactly. It's the freemium model. Well, and I guess the Amazon Fire tablet isn't free, but yeah. Pack of Watchdog says ransomware in 0 days are pretty wicked. Yeah, I mean, both can be catastrophic for organizations, right? Depending on how badly they impact you. 0 days and ransomware, really both. You know, one of the things you have to do is the best practices of cybersecurity, right? A lot of these cybersecurity 101 things, segmenting your network, limiting permissions, right? All of those kinds of things contribute to how successful or how unsuccessful these attacks are, right? A lot of ransomware attacks, they kind of distribute or spread out because they have too many permissions, right? They just have the permissions they need and they can just start hitting all these different areas of your network. And then also it takes you forever to identify it, right? Like all of those things are contributing factors to that success. So if you limit those things, you test your network, you do all of these things, you have processes in place, you know, those attacks aren't as successful because you are doing the things that you need to do in order to protect your network. The problem is a lot of companies, a lot of teams, a lot of networks are not doing the things that they need to do, or they are not doing them to the level of what they need to do relative to the organization, to the complexity of the network, to the size of the network, the importance of the network, the importance of applications, so on and so forth, right? Like all of those things are such an important consideration if you want to really protect your network, right? And the more due diligence that you do throughout, right? Because going back to CISSP kind of studying, you have to have due care, setting up your plan, your program, all that stuff, due diligence over time, improving your program and doing things to make that program better over time. So absolutely. All right, let's keep moving here. Next article, U.S. government sanctions Iranians linked to government cyber attacks. So we did briefly talk about this yesterday in the episode. So this is a little bit of a carryover. Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, has sanctioned 4 Iranian nationals for their involvement in cyber attacks against the U.S. government, defense contractors, and private companies. OFAC also announced sanctions against 2 front companies, Mersam and I'm not even sure how to say that company, but that first one, Mersam Andish Sajnik, formerly, I don't even know how to say these, formerly Mahak Rahan Afsar and Dahad Afsar Arman for the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Cyber Electronic Command, IRGC CEC, an Iranian armed forces service that coordinates the country's cyber warfare commands. 2 of the sanctioned cyber criminals, Ali Reza Safi Nazab, again, not sure if that's how you say the name, and Riza Kazimafar Rahman, targeted U.S. organizations while employed by the first company that we talked about, MASN. Kazimafar also attacked the Department of the Treasury in spear phishing campaigns. A third sanctioned Iranian, Hossein Mohammad Haruni, targeted the Treasury Department and other U.S. entities using spear phishing and various social engineering operations. Kamel Baradurani Salmani, the 4th Iranian sanction on Tuesday, was linked to attacks against U.S. orgs coordinated by Masan DAA, and other IRGC CEC front companies, and IRGC services like the Iranian Organization for Electronic Warfare and Cyber Defense, EWCD. So a lot of these attacking groups and countries, they do use kind of these front companies to kind of obfuscate what's going on, right? Especially, initially as they're building up what they're doing, they're building up their tactics. Maybe they want to buy services or something, and they don't want to buy it under the government name, right? That makes sense. You would use a front company. It's just like money laundering, right? It's the same kind of idea where they use this like front company, front business to obfuscate what's ultimately really going on. And Kyle says, there are so many really good policies that large companies like Google, Apple, Microsoft choose to adopt if they weren't trying to compete with everything. Yeah, I mean, we've even seen Microsoft apparently be very lax on their security, right? If you missed the article, I think it was last week's episode, one of those episodes, we were talking, maybe it was a couple weeks ago, talking about that Microsoft really hasn't been doing that great a job at security and best practices like we thought they were, right? And then we had GitHub obviously have some issues lately, which that's just another example, but not the same kind of example, right? That was just a vulnerability with GitHub, but it happened to be linked to Microsoft's repos. So, but with this, this particular article and this whole idea of going after these Iranian citizens, like I said yesterday, if you're a foreign attacker, if you're a domestic attacker, it doesn't really matter, but you're going after, especially the US government, they are getting really, really good at identifying who you are and going after you, right? Something like this, certainly if you are protected by another government, the Iranian government, something like that, you may never face justice, for instance, in the US, right? It may just never happen because you're going to be protected by your government or by other entities, other organizations, right? So we don't know, but certainly sanctioning and penalizing those people creates issues, right? Think about this. What happens if you're one of these attackers and you go to some other country where extradition is a thing, right? You get picked up trying to cross into another country. You get identified as somebody who needs to be extradited because you are on a watch list, and then you get extradited, right? It just makes life way more difficult to be on those lists. Don't do it, right? Just be a good person and don't attack other governments, right? It's simple. I know. I get it. It's just simple, but if you don't do that and you start being a bad person, well, you're going to be saying no, and you're going to be not having a great time. So Kyle says RCS chat protocol is a good example of this. Yep, absolutely. It's always interesting to see people that kind of get spun up or get tied into stuff like this. And then also, in some of these other countries, it also becomes kind of this question of, is this person like forced into this? Like, there are definitely countries that still have kind of these forced drafts or forced service contributions where you have to do like military service and stuff. And it's like, what is that like, right? If you're in that situation and you get forced into this and you have to do these things, right? Like you have no other option. There's all kinds of like social kind of implications and humanitarian kind of things that, that I think about. I mean, I don't know necessarily in this situation, right? Like this might not be that kind of situation, but certainly that could be a thing, right? Like there are definitely countries that are saying, hey, you will serve in the military and you will do these things, or, bad things will happen to you and your loved ones. So it's it's kind of a weird situation, right? Next article here, almost every Chinese keyboard app has a security flaw that reveals what users type. Now, this has been in the news a lot. So this is quite concerning here, right? The ease of exploiting vulnerabilities and the huge payoff knowing everything a person types, potentially including bank account passwords or confidential materials, suggests that it's likely they have already been taken advantage of by hackers, the researchers say. But there's no evidence of this. Those state hackers working for Western governments targeted a similar loophole in a Chinese browser app in 2011. Most of the loopholes found in this report, so there was this report about this, are so far behind best practices that it's very easy to decrypt what people are saying, says Jedediah Crandall, an associate professor of security and cryptography at Arizona State University, who was consulted in the writing of this report. Because it doesn't take much effort to decrypt the messages, this type of loophole can be a great target for large-scale surveillance of massive groups, he says. So just right off the bat, right, one of the things you have to consider with hardware, right, because we're talking about these keyboard apps or software, is what are the practices of the organizations that are developing the software or the people that are developing software, hardware, like all of those kinds of things, right? Because if you have hardware that has keyloggers, software that has keyloggers, or weak encryption algorithms that stores information locally on your device or sends it up to a server, what does all of that workflow look like, and what kinds of best practices or bad practices are those entities using, right? Few companies have been unresponsive in relation to the research and them trying to contact them, and the vulnerability still exists in some apps and phones, including QQ, Pinyin, and Baidu, as well as in any keyboard app that hasn't been updated to the latest version. So there are some that are unresponsive and not updating what they need to do with current practices. That's always a concern, right? That's why we do supply chain management, third-party risk management, vendor risk management, all of those kinds of things, right? We look for vulnerabilities that are existing in software, in hardware. One potential cause of the loopholes ubiquity is that most of these keyboard apps were developed in the 2000s, so a while ago, right? 24 years ago, if it's the early 2000s, before the TLS protocol was commonly adopted in software development. So if a company develops something, right, you start using it, and they are not staying with the times, they're not updating what they're using with current practices, that should be of concern to you, right? That's why you have to keep track of this stuff. So very interesting. Anytime there is, any kind of software or hardware that uses very old techniques and doesn't stay up to date with it. Again, there are plenty of companies that use software and hardware and stuff like this that do not go back and do due diligence over time. They say, we got this stuff initially and we're good to go. We trust that company. We trust that they're doing what they need to do. And they don't check things, 10, 20, 30 years later, which would be unfortunate. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in this kind of severely vulnerable situation, right? Because you didn't do your due diligence. And maybe now you're so locked into software. And I know this is like a keyboard app, but this is kind of a real thing, right? You get so locked into that hardware or software that now it's very cost prohibitive to switch, right? Let's say you had Windows XP, right? And that is the operating system that you developed some application for, right? And you spent millions and millions or hundreds of millions of dollars on it. And then you forgot or you just didn't invest the money to upgrade that, right? That's just kind of an example, but that is a very realistic kind of thing that happens, right? If companies don't invest in making things modern or making sure that they are up to date, that's an issue. Now, if it's because you're getting software, getting libraries, getting code, things like that from other organizations like this, and you're not tracking them and making sure that they're staying current, it's the same kind of issue, right? You have to maintain modern software, modern architecture, things like that, because otherwise you're going to get breached. It's going to be way easier for hackers to get into your network. And it's just a worse situation than if you would have just invested a little bit of money over time, a little bit of resources, and it won't be crazy expensive where you have to literally redevelop everything because you've just kind of become negligent or just not shown any concern for this stuff as things have changed over time, right? Especially with cybersecurity being more and more of a concern now. This is a real thing that happens, right? So you have to stay on top of this stuff or you will suffer and you will just face palm yourself every day and you'll just, why did I not do that? So very, very important. All right, so with that is going to be the last article for this episode. Again, this is Cyber Threat Intel. I'm your host, John Good. This is episode number 24. It is Thursday, April 25th, 2024. Appreciate everybody hopping on here, depending on no matter where you're tuning in from. If you're watching the live stream, the on-demand replay, we're on John Good Cyber YouTube channel, LinkedIn, Twitter or X, and the Facebook page for John Good Cyber. We are also on all the podcasting platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, there's a whole bunch of other ones. You can just go search for Cyber Threat Intel and you'll be able to find us. Or you can go to cyberthreatintel.com. Again, cyberthreatintel.com. You can find all the platforms we're on there. You can also find the article feed. So if you want to read more about these articles that we covered in today's episodes or other episodes, or you just want to see the extra articles that we put in there that are also worth reading that we didn't necessarily have time to get to. We also put highlights and notes and all kinds of things in there. Make sure that you pick up your merch, right? Cyber Threat Intel merch. And then also if you're a company and you're looking to sponsor content, definitely check out the description because there is more information there about how you can kick that conversation off and sponsor content. Again, we love our sponsors. Our sponsors help support us and make this stuff all possible. So they make it possible for you, which is amazing. And make sure to claim your CPEs for your certifications if you're trying to maintain those. With that being said, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. It's Thursday again, so we're getting ready for the weekend. I hope you have a great weekend. And with that being said, I'll see you next week. See you later. Are you tired of overpaying for cybersecurity training? Are you interested in training from industry professionals? Are you looking for cybersecurity career services? If you answered yes to any of those questions, then cybertrainingpro.com is the perfect platform for you. At Cyber Training Pro, we're a one-stop shop for all your cybersecurity needs. We can train you for industry certifications or just improve your overall knowledge and skills in a certain area. Unlike other platforms, we don't stop there. We can also coach you throughout your career, practice your interview skills, or create a high-performing resume with our career services. CybertrainingPro.com isn't just another training platform. Students get exclusive access to our private community where we go beyond training courses to provide additional content, tips and tricks, and engagement with both other students and staff. Look, by the year 2025, there could be as many as 3.5 million job openings in cybersecurity. With so much opportunity, why not maximize your career potential with a platform that cares about your success? Come join us at cybertrainingpro.com and start building your future today.